The Prison Experience. Enter the SAP Program, Chapter 16. With early news of the coronavirus spreading all over Blackburn, it came time for the next chosen SAP members to start the program. There were quite a lot of us. The SAP they started at Blackburn filled an entire bay. That's 50 beds and 50 SAP members. So around 40 of us new participants moved to the SAP bay and got our assigned bed. I lost Big Dog as a queue mate, but he was still in the same bay. SAP had mentors that had already done the program, and a few inmates that had a month or so left to finish out. SAP had rules and guidelines to go by, and we all had to wear a bluish vest that let everyone else know that we were in SAP. We met the females who ran the SAP program and got our book of rules to go by in our first workbook. One of the rules was no radio during SAP hours, which was hard on me. I could listen to the radio of the early morning and at lunch and after 3 o'clock when the SAP day ended, but the rest of the time, no radio. SAP was tough. Then there was this write-up thing we had to get through where each SAP member is required to write up another member if you saw him doing anything wrong or not following the rules. If you got a SAP write-up, then you are required to do some extra assignment. If the write-up is a very bad one, you can be thrown out of the program. Basically, it's like policing one another, and it causes a lot of controversy. The people who ran SAP expected write-ups. If they didn't get any, then we would all get punished with extra writing assignments and etc. Writing up another inmate goes against my religious beliefs, so to speak, so I struggled with it at times. Writing someone up can cause heated arguments between the inmates to the point of almost starting a fight. This kind of thing is why I never wanted to do SAP in the first place. Some of the inmates would make parole on the completion of SAP. I, on the other hand, had to finish my sentence. SAP was just another 90 days closer to home for me, and I tried not to take it so seriously. I had around 1 year left to finish. SAP is a 6-month program. On completion of it, 90 days is subtracted from your sentence, which if I finished would just about put me out the prison door. After being in the SAP program for about a month, we all started getting used to the daily routine of SAP life. I wondered if 90 days was going to be worth it or not. SAP could be an irritating thing. We had an AA class every morning and scheduled times throughout the day to do various things, like workbook assignments, and even little plays where we acted out various drug-related situations. There was a lot of writing in SAP. I went through a number of pens, but there were some fun things in SAP. On Friday we had a town hall kind of thing where we all went to another building to review the weekly write-ups and find out what punishments we would receive for getting one. Then on Friday evening we had some entertainment where inmates got to perform, tell some jokes, and play some games. After Friday we had the weekend to get our clothes ironed and some extra time to do other things. If you were a SAP member, you were not supposed to talk to anyone who wasn't a member. That's another one of the rules. A few inmates that started SAP when I did not make it through. Some were dismissed from the program. I tried my best not to cause any trouble. I didn't get a lot of write-ups, but I understood that everyone would eventually get written up for something. I think we did a pretty good job in SAP. It took some time, but most of us got on the same page and figured out how to work through it. After about 2 months in SAP, someone made the decision to move us from Dorm 2 to Dorm 1. So we all had to pack up everything and go over to Dorm 1, which is a smaller dorm. SAP was split up into 2 different bays. It took a few days to get adjusted to Dorm 1. Everything was set up different. After moving to Dorm 1, the coronavirus was making more news. We were issued masks to wear and strict rules on wearing them. Rumor had it that the coronavirus, now called COVID-19, had made it to Blackburn. One of the first rumors I heard was that one of the guards had tested positive for it. Extra precautions were put into place, and the bay was set up in Dorm 2 as a quarantine area in case the inmate tested positive for it. Around 4 months into the SAP program, the day came when we all had to take a COVID-19 test. Everyone in the SAP program had to line up and take the test, which was done by some of the medical people. The test was mandatory. There was no getting out of it. The test involved shoving a long Q-tip up your nose to get a sample. It was a bit painful. Some of the inmates had nosebleeds afterwards. After the tests were done, it took about 2 weeks to start getting the results back. A list showed up of those who tested positive, and they were moved back to Dorm 2 to a quarantine bay. I did not test positive to start with, and some of the others did not test positive either. The SAP program was put on hold pending the outcome of COVID-19. There were around 10 of us that didn't test positive, so we were left in Dorm 1 with a lot of empty beds. The yard got locked down, and we were confined to our bay. Meals and canteen had to be brought to us while locked down. It was winter time, and I thought, what a load of crap this was. Here we were about 2 months from completing SAP, and they had to shut everything down over this COVID-19 BS. And for a time, we didn't know if SAP was going to restart. If it didn't, we wouldn't get anything for the time and hard work we'd put into the program. I returned listening to the radio and exercising in the bays. It was a lot less crowded now that all the SAP members had been moved to Dorm 2. I recall January being a really strange month. I didn't know what the prison personnel were going to do. For a while, it seemed like the world was going to forget about us hard-working inmates. Prisons can be the last to get anything, but the food and toilet paper still arrived, so I stayed put and waited it out. Finally, the decision came to start SAP back up again, and the SAP inmates were moved from Dorm 2 back over to Dorm 1, and we continued SAP where we left off. I was sort of glad. We had about 2 months to finish up, and doing the rest of the program made it less boring. Blackburn took notice that my time was about up and started guiding me through the process of getting released. There were a few of us SAPs that were going home. Some had already left. I was going to end up being released about the same time as Billy, a SAP inmate that I got to know while there.